Oh. Hi, Tatiana.
Hi, Jane.
I'm so glad you could join the Adult Learning Hub today as we talk about global citizenship and what that means for us today. I'm so looking forward to our discussion.
Thank you. I'm very excited about it. It's something that I'm very passionate about, and
Brilliant. And I
I like
think,
to
yeah,
share a few things.
there's a
Yes.
lot of connections between adult education and global citizenship, and I love making those kind of connections with my guests. So let's get right into it. I think it's always good to start with a story. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you're based, and what you do.
Okay. So I've been living in Rockville, Ontario, Canada for 26 years,
Amazing.
but I'm originally from Brazil. My life in Canada has been basically in Rockville and Ottawa. I am French as a second language teacher
Hmm.
and also a PhD candidate.
Hmm.
So it's fun.
Brilliant. And it sounds like a lot of work as well. And what is it specifically are your research interests? What is it that you're studying?
I want to find out what French as a second language teachers, uh, how they perceive global citizenship.
Hmm.
Because the curriculum talks about global citizenship very briefly.
Hmm.
It talks about intercultural awareness. And if we don't know what the teachers think, how they perceive those concepts, it's going to be hard to even train them.
Hmm.
So I want to start from the beginning because
Hmm.
what their beliefs are, because that influences when they're delivering content in the classroom.
Hmm. So,
That's my
hmm.
goal.
So talking about beliefs and perceptions, I think that's a really huge part of adult learning, but also awareness as a global citizen, and how that kind of impacts how they come across in the classroom. It sounds like a fascinating subject. And I also like to start a little bit with my interviews. One little unknown fact that most people don't know about you. Before we get into the nitty gritty, tell us what makes Tatiana unique.
I play Dungeons and Dragons with my son and my boyfriend.
Fantastic.
Have you ever played it?
I haven't. I haven't.
It's a very old game.
It
And
is.
actually, my boyfriend used to play when he was in high school. And then my son found out about it and he started playing. And it's interesting. It's just a memory. It's not a memory. You create the game in your head. There is
Mm,
no board. There is no little,
mm,
there's nothing to follow. It's
mm.
just like you go against these dragons and it's elves, giants, all these kinds of characters. And
Love it.
we play for several hours when we play. Don't play very often, but yeah, I like it.
Brilliant, brilliant. It sounds like it's the kind of game that just ignites your imagination that you
Yes,
could go for hours.
that's right.
Well, obviously you are the kind of person, it sounds like you love stories and imagination and experience. And I'd be curious to know how you got your start as a professional in your industry. What got you interested in global citizenship in the first place?
Okay, so I'm going to go just back a little bit because
Mm,
my original education was in law when I lived in
wow.
Brazil. And then I got here, I couldn't get a job,
Mm,
couldn't go back to school, didn't know how to as an immigrant. It's hard to find where to get money.
mm,
And then I had my children and I started volunteering at school. And that's when I decided I wanted to be a teacher. So I went back to school. I became a teacher. And because I spoke French, I became a French teacher. But in the classroom, the experience was like I was shocked because the students didn't want to learn French. Even like 4 or 5 year olds were telling me, I hate French, I don't want to learn. And then I tried games and songs, role play, everything. Nothing really worked. And so I decided to go and do a master's to find out ways of motivating my students. That's when I found out about intercultural competence. And they liked it because we had a cultural exchange with a group of students from a small town that was a Francophone town. And they liked to find out about the other kids, but it it wasn't exactly what I wanted. And then I tried multiculturalism, and they asked me, why are you teaching social studies, madame? And I'm like, okay, this is not, it's good, but it's not exactly what I am looking for. And then I continued studying, and then I found out about global citizenship, and that's what took me to go do my PhD. And that's where I am at.
Excellent, excellent.
And
now you work quite closely with French teachers themselves.
Yes, yes. So it's also my experience as a French teacher, and working with them, and the theory, that's what I want to do. I want to create a bridge between the theory and the practice, because the theory is always in the building right there with the professors, and there is a lot that we can do together to improve education, to improve French education.
Yeah, I like your emphasis on linking theory and practice, and also how your own experience has informed your areas of study and your current research, wanting to, it sounds like, empower French teachers more.
Yes.
So when we think about global citizenship, how do we define this term? What is it?
I see it as being loyal to humanity and to the environment. When you're a citizen of a country, you are loyal to your country, right? You have rights and responsibilities. So if you look at it like globally, that's what you do. There are human rights and there are human responsibilities. So if it helps you to look at the others as equals, and that's what we should promote. It's not like, oh, I'm from the United States, I'm better than anybody else. I'm from, it's seeing people as equal. It's being able to be in their shoes and to say, okay, this is not right. We have to, because we're all humans. We all should have at least the same basic rights. And the environment, that's one thing that, if you look around, that's one thing that really shows us that we are only living in this small planet. Reading a poster not too long ago that said that the water that we drink, dinosaurs drank. It shows that things get recycled, that we still live on the same earth. So we take care of each other and take care of the environment.
I really like what you said there about the emphasis on loyalty, being loyal to each other and seeing people as equal and having equal rights. And in our kind of changing world, I think there's a number of threats to some of these values that we're trying to emphasize. It sounds like you're trying to emphasize in your research and what you do. So what does it actually mean to be a global citizen today? And why should we care? Because I think sometimes we think about these values, these idealistic values of equality and justice and sort of fairness, but why should we care about being a global citizen?
Because if we don't care, we're going to end up destroying each other. We live in a world of technology, so we experienced people leaving troubled countries coming to Europe because they want a better life, right? So they're having to move for different reasons, for war, because of wars.
Mm-hmm.
They're leaving their homes because they think other countries can give them a better life. But these other countries, they cannot hold that many people. And there is a lot of, okay, this is my home, you're taking my job. You're not, you go back. So there will be wars, there will be, misunderstanding.
Mm.
Because these people that come from other countries, they don't want to leave their homes. They're forced by exterior forces to try to get a better life. We all want a better life. We want to have water. We want to have food. We want to have a home and not being afraid of being killed during the night, And if we happen to be living in another country to move, try to look at these people like equals. They're not there to steal anything that you have, because we are humans. We are one species, and we have to start looking at people like that and not dividing, because when we divide, nothing good gets created. Unify the ideas. I think the world gets better. So that's part of being a global citizen. It's looking, like I said, like looking at a person, even if the person looks different or acts different, it's not a label that person is going to be, I don't know, threatened or taking things away from you, because they're humans. So give them the opportunity to show, because as humans, we share a lot of things, a lot of behaviors. It's not only like because I'm from Brazil, I act like this. Because you're from Canada, no, we have common behaviors, common beliefs. And then we have to learn to understand that and to accept that we are humans.
I like what you say there, and I think it's about looking for connection instead of finding things that divide us, and there's something to be said about being a global citizen, because it sounds like there's a bit of unlearning that we have to do around how we treat each other, how we've been socialized to treat each other, getting better at sharing resources, both physical resources, but I think also intellectual resources, sharing ideas and different approaches or ways of thinking about life. So obviously in our kind of distracted world, busy world, ever-changing economies and governments, it sounds like there's a lot of threat to being a global citizen. What are some of the threats that you've identified to global citizenship?
I find that there are many definitions of global citizenship. You're going to talk to people, and some are going to say, oh, I'm a global citizen. I travel around the world. Or, oh, I'm a global citizen. I give money to charity. I care about people. So, oh, I'm a global citizen. I take care of those people, those poor people from Africa. It's so you're dividing. It's an us versus them. And that's not what you want. You want togetherness. You see them, okay, why are they suffering? So let's look, yes, if they need money, if they need help right now, yes, but let's look at the origin of the problem so we can solve it, because they are just giving money, resources is not going to solve the problem. We have to see how it originated and try to solve. I got lost. What did you ask?
No.
Oh, the definition. Yes. And another
Yeah.
is government. They talk about
Yep.
global citizenship. If you look at curriculum, every curriculum document in Canada talks about global citizenship. They don't train the teachers for that. It's just,
Mm.
something that is mentioned just to show that they care, but there is really no interest. It's seen as an add-on. If the teacher wants, the teacher can teach about it, but it's not required.
Mm.
When it should be the main teaching. It doesn't take very long to teach about, inclusion and then diversity, especially in a country like Canada that's so diverse. But they have tests and they have other expectations that don't allow the teachers, even if they care, they don't allow the teachers to even think about including those ideas in their teaching.
Mhm. So it sounds like at the moment, we're only providing these kind of temporary solutions that are still dividing us, giving money to those who are less fortunate than us. And we think that we're a global citizen. And then there's the other layer, which you mentioned around lack of education, teacher training or teacher awareness, and perhaps governments, not putting this perhaps on an agenda, so that it becomes part of a national discussion. How, therefore, can we take more responsibility ourselves for being global citizens, despite some of these threats that feel maybe out of our control? How, in fact, can we take more initiative with being a global citizen?
In many ways.
Mm.
For example, we know we just have so much resource in the world. And one simple way, I was just thinking about, when you go and you buy new clothes, right? So if you think about a lot of these companies, they have little kids being slaves in a sweatshop somewhere that you can't really control. The raw material to create the fabric that is being used. Like there are so many things behind a new clothing item.
Mm.
So I saw a lot of, I see a lot of Oxfam's advertisement. They have a store, they must have many stores of recycling and reusing and buying secondhand. So if you buy secondhand, you are being a global citizen in many ways. Like water gets wasted when you're producing fabric.
Mm.
If people start thinking about that, they will, because it's really nice to have something new, but they will see the advantages of buying something that is secondhand that can be new also. A lot of people gain weight or lose weight and then a bunch of things hanging in my closet that I should take somewhere because I gained weight since the pandemic started.
Like many of us, yeah.
Yeah, so why not do that, right? Why buy bottled water? That is, every time I see that and they sell it, it's so cheap, but why? Plastic bottles are going to go into the environment and are going to, kill fish and destroy our world. Like if we start thinking about these little things that we can do, we are being global citizens. It's not, you can start it at home. You can start it at school. At school, little kids, lots of diversity in many schools. Treat your friend well. Try to get to know your friend and the culture, and so you can start seeing humanity. So even at school, as professionals, like you can treat your colleagues. You can start approaching your colleagues and really be interested in knowing that person, not just using it doesn't take much to be a global citizen. That's why I find it takes interest. It takes an attitude to start the process. Once you're there, and it's a lifelong learning, and that's you're always going to find something to learn about, because there are so many different little things that we don't know, and then we can start to become aware of. We enter the journey of becoming a global citizen, but I think it basically is like being curious and the attitude to start and to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, you know, that attitude. So you understand better and you say, oh, I'm a human. I also make mistakes. I also have different preferences. It's not because I'm from this country or that country. It's because we all do that.
And you mentioned about, it starts with an interest and an attitude and being curious. And it sounds like education is a big part of that. And I think through some of your research and also advocating for perhaps better teacher training in Canada of French teachers in the context that you're in, being able to use French as a vehicle for better and more responsible global citizenship. So I want to learn a little bit more about your research, if you don't mind my asking. Tell us about what some of your findings are and what your kind of big question is.
I haven't started collecting data yet. I work for an FSL, French as a Second Language project from another university. And, I find that there is a lot of misunderstanding of what it means to be a global citizen. Even the intercultural awareness, a lot of teachers, they treat it as like, oh, let's learn, let's see what, there are 4 basic things that they look at the food, at the music, at the clothing, and I can't remember the last one. But these are very superficial knowledges that are not really going to get you to know the people from that other culture. And that's what I see when I talk to teachers, that they think they're doing their job. One thing that is very popular here is Le Carnaval de Québec. So they think that, oh, let's learn about sledding, and they're learning about the culture. No, they're learning about an event, a celebration. That's another promote a lot. That happens in Quebec. How do you know how you're not learning really about the people? And then we know in Canada there is a rivalry between Anglophones and Francophones. So, and keeping it at that superficial level is never going to make people understand each other.
So what are your recommendations for bringing this into the conversation, or helping us to unlearn some of these perhaps mental shortcuts or ideas of what we think global citizenship is? How do we rid ourselves of this and take on new perspectives and attitudes?
I think that talking to the people, interaction is the most important and most efficient ways of getting to know. But you do need to be prepared for that, because a lot of people travel the world and they still don't understand. They still don't see other people as equals. So there has to be an understanding. That idea of putting yourself in the other person's shoes, you have to be trained for that. Otherwise, it's going to be a tourist episode in your life. Another thing, like I was saying, like the one activity that I did with that I liked doing with my grade 2s and 1s was like interdisciplinary activities was like, we are baking cookies. So what are we going to learn? We're going to learn a lot of things. We're going to learn about the ingredients. So that's French, right? Incorporating French. We're going to learn measurement. That's math, because it could be spoons, 3 spoons, whatever. We're going to learn that some of those ingredients are not made in Canada, like the raw material, like chocolate. The cacao doesn't come to Canada, it's from warm countries. So show them Africa, South America. So that's geography, especially with the little ones, to bring that awareness that we are all interacted, interconnected. We are living together in this planet, and we depend on each other. That's how you start planting the seed to develop that feeling of being a global citizen. I find that if I just want to teach about making cookies and I bake cookies at the end, they're going to be all happy, and then they're going to learn how to say spoon, cup, but that's not the goal. You have to introduce other layers of learning in how to bake a cookie. And that's what we need to promote in the learning of languages, and even in their own classroom. And it can start with little kids, because people say, oh, they don't have the vocabulary. Of course they do. And then we can add. And since they're learning while they're doing, chances are they're going to remember the vocabulary better than if they were just learning how to memorize and playing games to memorize those words.
Absolutely. It sounds like they would make much stronger connections at a younger age, and being able to apply that later in their life, perhaps. I sometimes think now how sometimes our formal schooling, it can fail us as far as not creating an awareness of these types of issues, like global citizenship, or where our clothing comes from, where the ingredients for our food comes from. And then I think when we reach adulthood, we wonder, okay, why are we not getting along? Why are we more divided than ever? Why are we standing on our soapboxes? Or, why are we, why are borders even more apparent now, more than ever? And I wonder if it's because, we're not sort of learning these principles, practices, taking on these attitudes, or getting good modeling when we are younger. Do you think it starts with education, with teachers?
Yes. And I tell you, there are many teachers who see that and who to promote global citizenship, even if they don't know that doing that, they are, when they include their students' histories in the teaching, when they are inclusive, they are creating global citizens. And that there are lots of teachers who do that, but are lots who don't. And then the goal is to get more teachers to understand the meaning and to promote global citizenship.
Right. And there, what's kind of interesting, I think, is the sort of the adult learning piece, is how do you get teachers, language teachers specifically, to start to uptake some of these attitudes, or be able to pass down this information, this learning to their students? What are some of your kind of ideas around that?
I think it's professional development. It has to be offered by the school board, and also a lot of promoting awareness of what it means, because a lot of school boards either don't have time to promote global citizenship, they have to promote math or science, whatever, and so it has to be a personal decision also. So, and that's why I'm going to start throwing out there ideas for global citizenship definition, because sometimes people read something and it just goes, they don't really pay attention. Sometimes they read, oh, this is interesting, I'd like to know more about
Hmm.
it. It's a long process, but if I can get one person on the on my side, I'll be happy. That
Right.
goal to
Hmm.
promote global citizenship in ways that can be done in your home. When you have your child's friend comes over and it's a child from another country, or that the parents or grandparents are from another country, to be inclusive, not just say, oh, what's your name, blah blah blah. Do you have a short name? Do you have a short way of
Hmm.
just so I experienced that, and I don't like it. This is my name. If I learn your name, why can't you learn my name? Like,
Hmm.
all these little things can promote global citizenship. It's
Right.
not a big goal. It's little actions starting
Hmm.
from yourself.
Hmm. And there's, education and learning is a huge part of that. And I think there's a number of these sort of behaviors and ways of thinking that also can be passed down informally as we learn, as we go to school, we interact with our parents, with classmates. But that starts from a young age, doesn't it?
Yes, but it
Mm,
it can be learned at any age, right?
mm,
So that's because I didn't know about it. I had
mm.
school, so I
Right.
was gonna go to school to learn.
Yeah. You came
So
across
my
this
job
subject
is
as an adult. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's right.
So not I think that being an immigrant, that all kind of stayed in the back of my mind. And when the kids in the classroom reacted to, I don't like French, uh, that kind of created an even bigger question mark in my head. And I like to investigate things. And I said, okay, I have
Mm,
why, and a way of motivating, because in Brazil, we learn languages. We love learning languages. So why is it that here people have this great, every day they can learn French and they don't?
mm,
So it takes, it was a process in my life. And I want to help people to get to this point, or get,
mm.
I have lots to learn still. Like I said, it's a lifelong learning. So
That's right.
yeah.
And if you could give us some advice, let's say like 3 tips for starting to be a better global citizen. Like if I want to be a better global citizen, more engaged global citizen, what should I be doing in my day-to-day life? What could I start doing?
You can start, I say the environment,
Mm,
because it's something that really makes people think that, yeah, we live on this planet, we
mm,
all live on this planet and all the resources. So if we start thinking about ways of helping the environment, we can work together. That's one,
mm.
is very easy for
Yep.
everybody, right?
Mhm.
uh, Even just looking at your neighbor, at your colleague, at like you look at yourself, like, this is a human being. Let me try to not being distant, and try to approach and respecting that person in the limits. And I find that many kids do that really well.
Mm.
And they just don't see any barriers. They just go, and then they say, oh, hi. And then they become friends.
Yeah, I think kids have
Yeah.
they have less of a filter. And when
Yeah.
we reach adulthood, it's kind of like we have these barriers that we put up,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
or that are imposed on us for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And be less stereotypical. I'm gonna give you an example. Some Muslim ladies, a lot of them wear the hijab, and
Mm.
and people say, oh, you have to be independent. This thing is just, it's imposed, and you have to free yourself. No,
Mm,
respect. A lot of it is, but a lot isn't.
mm,
People choose to wear it. It's part of their culture. It's not even sometimes related to religion. It's because that's the way they feel comfortable wearing it.
mm,
Not respect.
mm,
That is a big problem
mm,
in many places. But you know, you have to try to understand the person,
mm.
not pose and say, "Oh no, you're being this is a, I don't know, a sexist
Right.
culture, and you're being forced to do that." No,
Mm,
to the person.
mm,
You know, it's a lot about listening and learning from each other.
mm. Respect, listening, and learning from each other. Yeah, I like that. And being good to the environment, trying to find ways to incorporate that into our day-to-day lives. So, with your work with French teachers, French teacher education, what are you currently doing to promote global citizenship in your field?
So I really like this project that I'm involved in.
Mm,
Doing right now, we're starting to use Twitter to promote intercultural awareness.
cool.
The first layer is that the learning about festivities, and but showing that there is more to it than just that superficial layer.
Mm,
Um, we're gonna I'm gonna start doing like little notes on social media, because I think social media nowadays is a great way of learning and teaching.
mm,
That's what I think, you know,
mm.
about global citizenship so much that people start wondering, what is this? Okay,
Yeah. They see it
they all
popping
know.
up in
Yeah,
conversations. Yeah.
yeah. So and we're also trying to train teachers to teach using interdisciplinary activities like
Mm,
oceanography, and
mm.
like you include many, like science. You can include many subjects in learning about one thing, and
That's
still.
right. Like use the example of, cooking and, you're using French, but you're also using math. You're
Yeah,
understanding where the ingredients are coming from. And there's so much learning that can happen in that kind of in that sort of way.
Because in real life, we don't only learn math, we don't only learn history. It's
That's
all
right.
together, right? So
That's
we
right.
learn in that way.
Hmm.
And then we go to school and they say, no, you're just going to learn French,
Hmm.
you're going to learn math.
And
Like,
that's not the way life happens.
no, yeah, that's right. And it's proven that when you learn math,
Hmm.
problem solving, and then you include real world problems,
Hmm.
understand it better. So
That's right. That's right. And you're creating lifelong learners when
that's
you
right.
take that approach, because that curiosity will remain with them into adulthood if those attitudes and behaviors are modeled at a young age.
That's right. Yeah.
Hmm. Brilliant. Tatiana, I wanted to thank you so much for joining me today in this discussion about global citizenship. You really raised my awareness about the topic, and I love finding, links between adult education, lifelong learning, and other sort of interdisciplinary topics like global citizenship.
Yes.
Um, but thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed our discussion.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me also. I'm very happy. So I'm starting to spread the word through
Yeah,
you. So
excellent. That's
it's
great.
really nice. And
And
you've been a great inspiration. Thank you.
oh, I'm so glad. Well, I love to partner with different people if they want to get the word out there about their research or about topics that they're interested in, how it relates to adult ed or lifelong learning. And yeah, and especially global citizenship. I think it's a hot topic that we take for granted, but it's so relevant and important to our day-to-day lives. But yeah, I'm so excited for the research that you're doing, and you're going to have to keep me updated about your results.
I will.
All right. And how can people get in touch with you if they want to hear from you further? What's the best way to talk to you more about global citizenship?
I'm on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
I'm also on Twitter.
Excellent.
Can't
I'll
remember
put I'll put those details in the description below so they can contact you that way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for our
Thank you.
chat.
You as well. Thank you very much. Bye.